on, you bastard!
Brought to you by supporters who probably have better taste than this schmuck.
The smallest transforming Transformers are a bit of an interesting thing. They are loved by the people who collect them, but there aren't a lot of them. If I were to describe a cult hit line, the most emblematic would very much be the smallest transforming Transformers. It's so much of a cult hit that they can't even get the name right, often calling it the world's smallest, which is the name of the third-party versions, but not the official ones. Because shit is of course going to be confusing. In this current climate though, it's a bit weird to collect them. Most people collecting them originally grew up back when it first came out, or were at least adults when it came out. I mean, I don't really think they grow up because they were more of an adult collectible line. And they were Japanese exclusive, so that throws a spanner in the works. But does it hold up compared to most of the modern Legends offerings? Well, that's a difficult one. It's G1, but tiny. This was a pretty novel concept for the time. It's not like modern Chug where you get a lot of G1 representation. For a long time, pretty much between G2 and Classics, G1 was kind of pushed to the wayside. Mostly because up until Robots in Disguise 2001, it was just Transformers. And after that, they sort of had their own thing. Why would they go back to G1? This is one of the many reasons why the smallest transforming Transformers did so well. Well, that and a bunch of other things. This one right here is the anime-style version. When I received it, it already had some toy hacks applied, toy hacks that they unfortunately don't make anymore, but overall, it's a very nice representation. It's more cartoon-based in its sculpting, not just its deco, but the sculpting is very cartoon accurate. The way the front slopes down in the way the G1 toy didn't. The shape of the windows, that's very cartoon styled, the toy didn't really do that. The proportions of the truck, it's also very toon styled, but it still works really well, and I really dig the colors. Normally, I'm not a fan of the baby blue windows, but on something this small, it really works actually. I feel it doesn't look as cheap here, because you're not left with giant swaths of the plastic. The colors on the front are just lovely. It's mostly a bit of silver, not many different colors in there, but it gets the job done very well. And the metal squares do a good job of mimicking the original toy holes that became the lights. Wheels are pinned, which is very nice for rolling. Paint on the smokestacks, but not the side parts, those are toy hacks. I don't have a lot to say about this. It's just a really nice alt mode. Is it wholly accurate to the original toy? Well, no, I would go with the Hot Wheels one for that. This is the Mattel Creations version, and this right here is a shrunken down version of the G1 toy. And you can see they've gone a lot further with the details on this one. Also, I love the chrome on it, so I think I prefer it overall. But this is very, very nice. I think these days I would probably just hunt down the Dr. Wu version if you want an Optimus Prime at this size. Not just because it's easier to come by, but also because of the added articulation. But this alt mode does quite well. Anywho, size-wise, he is roughly 5.2 centimeters long, 2.1 centimeters wide, and 2.7 centimeters tall. And for sizing, you can see that he really is one of the smallest transforming Transformers, because here he is next to a standard Legion figure, a standard Core Class figure who basically dwarfs him, a standard modern Micromaster, a standard modern Minicon, a not-so-standard Lego minifigure, and Crumbs. Transformation is G1 simple. It basically does an Optimus. If you've messed with an Optimus Prime figure before, or if you've messed with G1 Optimus Prime before, you know exactly how it works. Legs go down, feet fold up, arms basically do an Optimus, like so, and the head folds up. Nicely. In robot mode, they made a lot more sacrifices than they did with the vehicle mode. I can see this is trying to be G1 Optimus Prime, but there's many areas where it just sort of isn't. The head sculpt is classic Prime, but of course in these colors it's kind of hard to tell. The arms are pretty much on point, the legs are pretty much on point, but it really doesn't fit that way with the chest. I'm not saying this is bad by any stretch of the imagination. I really like the way it works. What they've done is they've made it so that the fists don't actually parts form, which I think is a really cool feature, but unfortunately it means that the torso is kind of tubby. Sort of like the same way Tensegrity Prime worked, it was like that, and it's a bit unfortunate. And I feel that's the biggest issue with this. This guy could have been the perfect downscale of the G1 toy. It's not because of the accuracy. I mean, whether it's accurate or not, I'm not really going to complain. But it just makes the proportions look a bit weird. Still, everything else is nice. They've made it so that the arms are ball jointed now, so they get the same level of articulation, but on less joints. Really nice, and I would have actually liked them to use ball joints everywhere else, but then that's getting into missing link territory. Of course, you got stickers here, here, and here, and here, which unfortunately they don't make anymore. And I think the Autobot symbols are stickers as well, but still, it's a very nice little figure. Even got some die-cast. The head platform is die-cast, and so are the legs and feet. Die-cast on smallest transforming Transformers figures. It seems weird, but it's how they do it. And I commend them for that. Makes him really easy to stand. I used to think diecast on legend scale figures was a bit of a bad idea, but in the years since I've seen it can work quite well. And this is a good example of it working quite well. I gotta commend it for that. Of course, when it comes to diecast, nothing's beating the Mattel Creations version. But that does bring up an interesting point. The Mattel Creations Optimus Prime is a more accurate shrinking down of the G1 toy. It's got far less concessions. Yes, the torso is a little bit squished comparatively, but it's way more accurate when compared to this thing. But as for which one of these is better, I'm gonna have to say the smallest transforming one is. Aside from being a much more reasonable price, both on release and on the aftermarket, it just pulls it off a lot better. This thing has a lot of QC issues and build quality issues. It doesn't hold together as well as this one does. I love both, but honestly, this one does it a lot better. Of course, these days, if you want to buy an Optimus Prime at this scale, the Dr. Wu version should have you covered. If you're not dead set on a shrunken down version of the G1 toy and you just want an Optimus Prime, he is better and far more affordable. The smallest transforming Transformers are rare as f***. And I know a lot of people are anti-third party. I know a lot of people will look at this and say, well, that's not a Transformer. I'm not f***ing with that. And that's valid, but if you don't care about that, yeah, Dr. Wu did it better. I'm not going to pretend I'm the biggest fan of Dr. Wu. It's at a bit of a scale that I don't really collect. I'm more into the new age stuff personally. But I'm also not going to pretend they didn't do a better job with this one. It's been several years and they're not kind of tied to the same gimmick this one is. So, you know, it's understandably going to be better. Anywho, size-wise, he's roughly 3.5 centimeters by 6 centimeters. And for size comparisons, here he is next to a standard Legion figure, a standard Core Class figure, a standard modern Micromaster, a standard modern Minicon, a not-so-standard Lego minifigure, and Crumbs. Honestly, this is a pretty good toy. It's got some shortcomings in certain areas, and it's not quite accurate to the G1 toy, but it is pretty good. If you want a slightly downscaled update of the G1 toy, honestly, the deluxe version will do you better. It's just more accurate and more fun. It takes everything from the original G1 toy and just modernizes it, whereas this tries, but makes a few compromises here and there. If you want the most accurate shrunken down scale, you go for the Hot Wheels version, but nowadays that's like $300-400. So I don't see anyone getting that one. But if you want one that's affordable and one that's technically a better toy than that, yeah, this one goes for you. And if you're already in on the line, well, you're going to have this one anyway. Though if you just want something in that scale, I would still stick with Dr. Wu. I still think it's a better figure and more affordable, of course. And it just kind of works at the scale a lot better. It does a lot more at the scale. Damn, Dr. Wu took the off. I wasn't expecting it to be that popular. Props to them. Not really my thing, but I'm glad it's doing very well. I do like this figure, and I am glad to have it, but I'm not that compelled to go after every single smallest transforming Transformer. There are a lot of them, and it's a bit much for me, but I do have to say they are pretty good. Good on them for doing as good as they did. Hats off. But tomorrow, we're jumping ahead in time. We're jumping ahead in time by a lot. Decades, even. Is it decades? It's probably about a half a decade since smallest transforming. But we're jumping into something far more modern and discussing possibly one of the worst Legends figures of the time. See you tomorrow.